So as 2019 wraps up and we begin making our New Year's resolutions leading into 2020, it's a good time to take a look at how to digitally be mindful of what we do online and hopefully offline. I'm Jason Cipriani with Jason Perlow, and today we're going to talk about New Year's resolutions being digitally mindful. So Jason, heading into the new year, what are you thinking on how you're going to approach mental health and how digital aspects of our lives play a part in that?
Well, Jason, it's interesting. The last 3 years of mine have been an interesting voyage. Because I've had to deal with my own anxiety for a number of different reasons. But a couple of things that I've learned is this. One is you can't really concern yourself with things that you don't have any control over, right?
Right. Yeah.
You can only concern yourself. One is with things that happen in the moment in which you are, which we call, present moment. And the other is things that you have a direct relationship with or direct influence on. You can't concern yourself with things that you don't have any control over, right? So that's one good guiding principle to start with, right? So with having that guiding principle, you have to think about that in terms of how you interact online and with people in real life. If you start with that, then you have a good basis to as a good foundation to work with, right? So one of the things that I start with, is online, is you have to assume that everybody that you're interacting with is already stressed out and anxious, just like you are.
Yeah,
and if you operate from that principle, then you realize, well, I'm not unique. Everybody's upset and angry.
right.
Let's try to take it down a notch, right?
Take a step back and approach it from how you would want to be approached.
Correct. And the other is that when it comes to dealing with any kind of online system, whether it's emails, work, instant messaging, Facebook, Twitter, you have to learn how to set boundaries. What do we mean by boundaries? We mean by, are you going to set hard limits as to how many hours a day you're going to use this thing? Well, not necessarily. But maybe you should be thinking about not taking on every single task and job people ask of you. Maybe you shouldn't be trying to write 15 articles a month. Maybe you should try to write, 4 or 6 or 8. Depends on what the hell our contract is these days. But in any case, I'm at work. Somebody can't say, Jason, can you go do this? And can you do all this? And then I realize I got 16 things on my list when realistically I can only accomplish 4, right? But because I'm a nice person and I keep saying yes to everything, I keep piling up my list because I'm afraid to say no. So learn to push back with people at work and also in your personal lives, because people can ask you to do stuff. There are certain types of people that just keep asking and asking and asking because they know that you're going to say yes. So we have to learn how to push back.
Yeah, absolutely. I think those are all great tips and something to be mindful of. But I think for me, it's going to come down to reducing the amount of time I spend on my phone,
Sure.
Or iPad or computer, whatever. Anytime looking at a screen other than, maybe binge watching a show, but actually interacting or mindlessly scrolling through Twitter, Facebook, Reddit, places that can have a meaningful impact on interactions with other people, but also are very toxic at their core. And what I haven't done is used the built-in tools that Apple and Google have added to Android and iOS, which iOS has a feature called Screen Time, Android has Digital Wellbeing. And these tools allow you to set limits for specific applications or specific types or categories of applications. Like you could set on iOS for Screen Time, you could say, I only want to be allowed to use social networking apps for 3 hours a day, which that includes the messages app, so text messaging as well. So it's not just Twitter and Facebook. It's if you're interacting socially, it's going to limit it after that time. The problem I have with those solutions that Apple and Google claim they have is that all I have to do is extend the time once the screen comes up and says I've ran out of time. And so that self-control of seeing that time and seeing it as an indicator, or seeing that screen and seeing it as an indicator that it's time to take a break instead of just tapping next to it or tapping next and getting an extra hour or whatever it is. That's something I need to work really hard on going into the next year, because it's so easy to open my phone, tap on Twitter, go through Twitter, go to Facebook, go to Instagram, go to Reddit, and then just repeat that cycle.
You go down the hole and you keep getting sucked. The problem with our jobs, Jason, is that we are digital content creation professionals, in the sense that this is the industry that we cover. This is the industry that we watch. But at the same time, we both use it not just for work, but also for recreation at the same time. So our work days
Right.
and our personal times tend to blend into each other, which is a very difficult thing to learn how to control. One of the things that I've had to do is I've had to schedule literally hard blocks personal time into my day on Outlook, right?
Really?
There are 2 hour periods where it literally say, this is me time. Go outside. And it's literally go outside, go to the coffee shop, go out to lunch, go read a book. This is the time when you should be watching something stupid on TV or
Right.
whatever, as opposed to sitting down at the Twitter feed and the Facebook feed. And then, by the way, there also has to be time we have to block out, me as a writer, to work. This is work time.
Sure.
This 3 hours, undistracted, go right. You
Yeah.
know, that's unfortunately sometimes with certain types of people, you have to enforce your own discipline, because you get easily distracted. So that's one thing I've had to learn how to do.
Yeah, and our jobs are a little bit unique. We both work from home. We both
Yep.
more or less set our own schedules. But for someone with a more rigid schedule, a 9 to 5, 8 to 5 job, it's going to be a little bit harder to block out that amount of time. But I think it's important to do that once you get out of the office and you head home. And
Yep.
instead of checking your email to see maybe, hey, if you heard a response on that project you're working on or whatever it is, it's just not doing that until the morning. Slack is a big time workplace communication tool.
Oh,
It
yeah.
has built-in features that will snooze your alerts until the next day at a set time. So, I had to learn a few months ago to turn on the snooze or do not disturb, whatever Slack calls it, at 5 p.m. and it doesn't alert me until 8 a.m. the next morning.
Yeah,
And
we use a similar tool, Microsoft Teams. I don't know what features that has, but I should look into those.
and it's still even hard at that because if I still get an alert, the badge shows up on my phone. I just don't get the actual push alert. So then I have to fight with the mental, turmoil of, do I need to read that? Is it really that important? And this is what I mean, like coming up on the long Christmas break, which you guys will probably watch this after the Christmas break. I'm going to sign out of Slack on my phones and on my devices. I'm not going to check it for an entire week. And hopefully I'm able to do that, but it's something I'm definitely going to try and really going forward in 2020, try to cut back on all of this stuff in all actuality. But here's another thing I struggle with, Jason, and maybe you have some sage advice about this. You talk about going outside, you talk about
Yep.
going and taking breaks and reading books and all this other stuff. Basically finding an interest or a hobby that gets you away from what we do every day.
Yes.
My interest and hobbies are around electronics.
Yep.
I work with electronics. So let's say, I recently started reviewing a couple of drones. I want to go out and take a bunch of pictures and a bunch of video. That's fine. And flying them is fine. I'm outdoors. I'm away from a screen. I'm doing something different. But then I come home and I want to look at that. And that takes me back to a computer or to an iPad, and where I'm prone to opening up Twitter and Facebook. Like, I don't know. What do you suggest I do there?
Well, if you like electronics, Jason, have you ever tried working literally with board level soldering and putting stuff together like Heath kits and things like that, working with pies and stuff like that?
So I'm up to 5 Raspberry Pis.
5.
Yeah, I have 5 projects in the house running.
Are they breeding, Jason? That you need to keep them away from each other?
Sometimes, it just one shows up in the mail and I'm like, hey, what are we going to do here? So I have plenty of projects. I do get that approach. I've never got into soldering in some of the more complicated projects though. Maybe that's a good idea. Maybe it's a way to just, kind of zone out for a little bit and learn a new skill.
Very good. The other thing that, anything that allows you to, like, when you say zone out, I think that's actually something that is really important for us to learn how to do. There are tools you can get on your smartphone. I guess we want to get away from smartphones, but at the very same time, your smartphone can be used as a tool to help you zone out. One of those is mindfulness meditation applications. The one that I like to use is called Headspace, but there are some other ones called Calm. Another one, there's a free one called MHK.
Okay.
And what these are guided voices that help you do simple breathing exercises and help you visualize calm things in your head that help you de-stress or help you fall asleep or help you figure out how to concentrate on things. And essentially you are rewiring your brain to become less obsessed with the thoughts that are stressing you out. And, it sounds like, hocus pocus kind of stuff, but in actuality, this has been clinically proven that, once you start to learn how to use these techniques, your brain will rewire yourself. You will be able to de-stress yourself. And
Yeah,
it's something you can do for, as little as 3 to 5 minutes a day,
I have tried to use some of these apps in the past. When Samsung announces a new watch, there's usually a partnership with some sort of mindfulness app or, just different examples. And I have not been able to calm down my mind enough to actually allow myself to fully use it. I've tried, but I just can't. Maybe that's what I'll do over the next few weeks as well. I know you're pretty big on these apps, so you use them quite a bit to help you get to sleep, right?
Yeah, it's actually a good way to start doing them at night if you know that you're shutting down, so you can just get used to the whole way that the voice works and the visualization works. They have some really nice ones called sleep casts on Headspace that they're 45 minutes long, and each of them is kind of like listening to a bedtime story. So, they got one where you're walking through a village with all kinds of nice falling snow. Another one you're walking around in a forest, and the other one you're walking around with a marina with cats. This kind of crazy stuff that, that the voice is telling you about all these little details. And really, you're focusing on the details of what they're describing, not so much of the thoughts that are driving you crazy in your head, which is kind of interesting.
Interesting. Yeah. Maybe I'll give one of those a try. Like I said, I definitely could use some help falling to sleep most nights. So going into 2020, I think my personal resolution is to just cut back on social networking as a whole. It's like we've talked about previous shows and also in this one, it's pretty toxic as it is, and just getting away from constant routine of bouncing around between apps. What about you going into 2020? What are you going to set for a digital?
Well, I've already started doing some things that'll help me improve my digital wellness online. I have an application that I use on Chrome. Unfortunately, it does not work on mobile devices, called Social Fixer, and it's a filter application extension for Chrome and also for the new Microsoft Edge based on Chrome that actually allows you to filter out political posts and all kinds of stuff, and also advertisements. So basically what you get is a distilled experience of Facebook that's literally just the stuff hanging out with you and your friends. So if anybody mentions any terms, it's got certain block lists and things that it knows that are toxic, essentially. And then you can just get back to watching, funny pictures of cats and, and dog videos and things like that, or groups where you can talk about things that you actually, are safe zones.
Sure.
But yeah, ultimately, I think we all need to stop looking at this junk 24 hours a day. Yeah. Like I said, you and I have to do this for a living. So at some point, we have to say there's a hard time where we're going to have to say, stop looking at Twitter at, 5 o'clock, and, yeah, go do something with your life. Right. I think what we learned is that, our personal time is important to us, and it's what keeps us healthy. So don't neglect it.
Yeah. Those mental breaks are extremely important. And I definitely see a difference after I've got away for a day or two, or even for just a few hours at times, in my mood and my overall approach and the way I view the day and the way I view the workload, to be frank. So yeah, I think those are great tips. And it's obviously something all of us struggle with, no matter who you are. If you're exposed at all online or, to a smartphone that is constantly begging for your attention, it's something we all struggle with. So hopefully leading into the new year, you can find some ways to be digitally well. I'm Jason Cipriani.
And I'm Jason Perlow.
And this is Jason Squared. Make sure to check out more videos on zdnet.com.